Komið sælar, þekkjum ykkur eiginlega bara allar. Hæ, Hildur. Gaman att se ykkur. John, jag hoppas det är okej om vi talar isländska i början i alla fall.
Det är gaman.
Ja, det visste jag.
Ja.
Flott. Já, verið velkomin á þessa vefstofu sem haldin á vegum grunnleikninetins hjá NVFL. Örstutt bara NVFL, ef að við þekkið það ekki til, þá það norrænt tengslanet nám fullorðinna sem svona samstarfsvettvangur fyrir fullorðinsfræðslu á Norðurlöndum. Og þetta net grunnleikni, það var stofnað árið 2017 og hefur svona frá upphafi aðalega tekið fyrir stafræna færni. Þó vissulega hafi aðrir þættir grunnleiknis eins og lestur og starffræði líka verið tekið, að þá hefur svona aðaláherslan verið á stafræna færni hingað til. Og á þessari vefstofu þá erum við að kynna tvær greinar sem hafa verið þýddar yfir á íslensku. Það annars vegar greinin stafrænt líf sem kemur frá Svíþjóð og það hún Kerstin Gattu sem kynnir það og sú grein fjallar fólk, aukna möguleika fólks með þroskahömlun til virkni í samfélaginu og hvernig öllu fólki gert kleift að nýta sér tæknina. Og það Kerstin eins og ég sagði sem verkefnastjóri hjá DGIA, en DGIA hefur staðið fyrir námskeiðinu anpassat IT hjá Móra lýðskólanum í Svíþjóð. Og svo þegar hún hefur lokið máli sínu þá opnum við fyrir spurningar. Þannig ef það einhver sem vill ræða við Kerstin sérstaklega greinina. Og ég vil líka benda á það að þessi grein að finna inn á gátt, gátt.fræ.is. Ég geti nú sendt ykkur slóðina að þeirri síðu ef þið hafa hana ekki. Og þegar hún hefur lokið máli sínu þá tekur Jakob Vurio við. Hann kemur frá finnsku menntamálastofnun og ræðir stafræna færni kennara. Þar sem ákveðni kennarar fengu þjálfun í stafrænni færni þegar COVID kikkaði inn hjá okkur og hann fjalla aðeins það verkefni, þetta leiðsagnar kennari í stafrænni færni. Kom ég þessu ekki rétt út mér?
Jú, að leiðsegja samstarfsfélögum sínum.
Akkurat. En við kannski bara byrjum med Kerstin. Kerstin, du klar att börja?
Jajamensan.
Och tar det gärna på engelska.
Yes. Hello everyone. This is from Mora in the middle of Sweden. And I'm going to share my presentation for you so you can read. Here we are. Share. Does it work now? Is it okay? Fine. I'm an occupational therapist and I'm a teacher at Mora Folk High School for young adult people with intellectual disabilities. And I'm also working on a national competence center for participation in the digital society. And the title, Technology Should Work for Everyone, it could be Digital Tools Should Work for Everyone. People with intellectual disabilities is a group that often is excluded from the digital society in Sweden. And I guess that's the same in a big part of our world. This group has, the group we worked with was people with moderate intellectual disabilities. They have often problems with read and write, to understand money and handle money, time management. They're difficult to understand consequences and people's intentions. But computers are very good at compensating for these difficulties, reading text, speech to text, calculate, remind, and many other things. And we have seen this in a lot of examples. And that's why we built a new digital tool that's worked very well. But I like to start with, what do we do on this digital arena? That's so obvious to us, so we maybe forget it. We handle money, we take photos, a lot of photos, we have our calendars, we read books, we mail, communicate, listen to radio, pods, films, social media, games, music. And in Sweden, we had a lot of digital activities during the COVID pandemic. So, and many of our people with intellectual disability are not having the possibility to join this. That's so obvious for all us other. We worked together with a Swedish researcher called Stefan Johansson, and he had identified 14 factors what is necessary to participate in the digital society. You have to have, sorry, I have to do this. Accessible design. You have to have, we have to have access to the net. That's so obvious too, but in Sweden, living in a group home or a daycare center, it's not so obvious for everyone. You have to have those devices, and you have to have access to the applications. Support is a very important factor. Practice and policy, laws and regulations. Education, and I mean education for people with disabilities, for the staff, for the bosses, for the politicians, for everyone. Expectations. Oh, we have seen so many things that you can break those expectations if you get the tools and the opportunities. Experience, competence, self-efficacy. That's very important. Afford, money, and attitudes. And all of these things you have to have if this participation should be possible. And we made 2014, we had money from the Swedish inheritance fund called Arvsfonden to build an education. And this is a distance course. You visit our school 1 week a month, and then you study home. And that's very new. And this course is for 2 years, and we just started our 4th group. We have 12 members in each class. And you have to have a support person at home, because the computer doesn't always work as you like. And we also have homeworks. And in this course, we call it Adaptive ICT, anpassad IT. The computer is used as for every one of us, for communication, for documentations, to get information, and for pleasure. And I'm going to show you about how do you do that when you can't read or write. And we have several themes on our course: health, food, health, movement, culture, nature, and society. And we have some goals to have fun. That's the most important thing, to manage both what we do with the computers and what we do in our themes. Have something to tell when you come back home and want to come back. And we check every idea we have with those goals, and it works most of the times. And we found a theory, universal design of learning, And another researcher that's we work with, Gunnel, she had contact with this people in US, and they changed the order. So now engagement is first. And this is things you have to compare with if you're going to succeed. How do you make digital tools cognitive accessible? Yes, one thing, we had a very old email program called Easy Mail. It's about over 20 years old, but it's the only one there is, and we had to communicate on distance in this course. And we found out that sequentially structured is necessary, one thing at a time. Having icons, if you can't read, you can choose here if you want to write a mail or if you want to record it, and that they having this program, they make it directly. It's also short text, few distractions, and working with photos. And another program we worked with, and an issue that's very important for these people, it's money. Can I afford to buy this? And here you can have something you want to buy, that's the cost, and then you look in your wallet, this is the money I have, and you can see the money wouldn't be enough for this thing. But we needed some platform that was that our students were able to use. So after we have done that course, and it was very successful, and they still want to come to us, we had new money from Arvsfonden, and we started to build this platform called DigiJag. And we have all the experience with us from the course, and it's symbols, icons, and it's sequentially built. And this is the first page in DigiJag, and it just shows the day and the time and the weather. And if you can't read Friday, it's a yellow color. It's standard in Sweden. And we are, DigiJag isn't finished. It's all the time working with new functions. And I saw one new prototype that the calendar was in this page too. DigiJag works platform independently, so you can have it on your phone, on your on your computer, surfplatta, sorry. Yes, okay. And it doesn't, your every operate system it works with. So works with apps, and apps in DigiJag is a web page. So you can't load anything down, because then it don't work with another digital tools you have. And this platform is built together with our students. So they have been in every, does the function work, and the researchers and the designers have come to our school and checked it and go back, worked it out and come back and check it again. And they also have asked what is the most important thing you should do on this platform. And YouTube was the winner. Sorry, I can't go back. I just tell you, YouTube in DigiJag is no advertisement, and it's you can talk what thing you want to search for. And so YouTube made it possible for us, but it is YouTube, but it's in DigiJag way. You can be in different groups in DigiJag. You can be in your group home, in your daycare center, or in your by your friends, or in organizations. And if you go to your group, you can see the members if you press this button. And you can also, if you have Zoom, you can Zoom button, and then you get a message to your friend and he has the question. Kerstin is want to have Zoom meeting with you, and you can answer yes or no. As a teacher or as a staff member, you can start this with the whole group. And content, this is materials you do for your group. And I show you some examples just in a minute. So this is one example. This is a schedule that we send out in for our classes. They have it on paper and they have it digital, and that's very important. And we have it on the door if somebody couldn't see it. It's very important to know what and when and where, with whom you're going to do things. This is another example. It's a recipe for Swedish flatbread. This is another documentation, what's okay, what's on the border or do not so often, and what things you never should do. And in DigiJag, it's also possible to all use films, interactive things, sounds. So it's all those difficulties this group has is you can compensate with different things. This is another things about rules. How do you do in our class? How do you do in our group? What's okay? It's inside this reference, and what's not okay is outside. And this is working very, very good in our classes. 2020, when our school closed it down because of COVID, we had to go on distance, and we were thinking, how will we be able to do that? But our students have digital skills and digital tools before the pandemic. So that's one of the things that made it possible. Our students have working with those tools. Our students had a support person at home. It was very important. And our technicians provide distance support. The first time it took us 35 minutes to get everyone abroad. After that, they are often in before we scheduled. But it was a lot of challenges. And the challenges for us wasn't technical, it was pedagogical. Our first meeting, as a teacher, I have no chance to they didn't listen to me. They were so happy to meet each other. So they talked a lot. And our coach said you couldn't turn off everyone's microphone because they don't know what happens and how they're going to manage with that. So we have searched for digital tools, and this wheel is very good. So if you turn it on, you have a winner and you can spotlight that person. So, you know, the person know I'm the one that speaks, and the class know, oh, we're going to listen to her or him. Today, I'm working at this DigiJag Center. It's a national competent knowledge center for participation in the digital society. And we also have a website. And we work with the advice, competence development. We have a resource bank with learning resources, and we're working with network. And DigiJag is also in Norwegian, and it's also in English. And if some of you want to check the Swedish version, you can go to this web address and username demo, password demo. And now I'm going to show you the English one. Do I have some more minutes? Okay, I guess so. This is the English
Yeah.
version.
Okay.
Today it's Wednesday, it's a white day, and you can see I have 11 degrees and cloudy in Mora, where I am just now. And I wanted to show you some of the apps. Sorry, they are in Swedish. I can manage that. But this is YouTube in DigiJag.
Excuse me, we cannot see your screen right now. I still see your PowerPoint. If you're trying to show something else,
Sorry.
try to
Thank
share,
you
reshare your screen.
So now I'm going back.
That's better. Thank you.
Here you are at the English version for DigiJag. And this is also where you have your, do your materials and put the websites you want into DigiJag. But I like to show you the dashboard. Do you see it? No? What happened?
It was there just before, but now you stopped sharing your screen. I think you can.
Yes.
Yeah, now we can see it again. Yes, there you go. There you go. Perfect.
Oh, hello. So this happens every time. This is the first page in DigiJag. Today it's Wednesday, it's a white day, and then you can see all the other things. But I wanted to show you YouTube. And this is our YouTube, no advertisements, and there are no advertisement in the films either, in the beginning and in the end, but in the middle we can't do anything. And that's YouTube that let us do this, because it should be easy for our groups. Iceland. Yes. Here we are. If you get lost in your YouTube, you can always go to the beginning of DigiJag, and that's something we learned. Here is a button for help, and you can ask for help, and it goes email to my helpers, so they can contact me and help me out. And here we have I'm in a lot of groups, and I have some examples. Here you can see the members. Oh. And here you can see that Zoom thing I told you about. Contents is, it's your imagination that sets the limit for this. You can do anything. And for example, if you're coming to Mora and want to visit me, you can have this in your mobile phone when you enter the train station, and then walk and you come to our school. And sorry, it's in Swedish, but you can look at the pictures. Other things you can do is, what are we going to eat? Monday is green. Okay, this is for lunch and this is for dinner. We have a lot of information materials in this one, and you can use other digital tools. Google Docs is popular for us, and this is a link to a formula. And what movie are we going to see on Friday? Would you like this one? Yes or no? Or do you prefer that one? Yes or no? And you have the most voters, that film we're going to see. And this is participation, independency. They are happy and they're growing so much, so we call, someone thinks it's challenge that. If you're going to a trip, what do you need to have? Sheets, towel, and so on. And this you can have looking for signs from the autumn, or yes, you can do a lot of things. This is where I like to play. This is a tabel, and you put different things, and then you link to the website or the part of a website, but that makes you always succeeded when you are in DigiJag. If some letter is wrong, you can fix it. Maybe I have to, I just show you one thing. This is a lesson. The swan is a film about the swan. This is a text about the swan, and it could be a breed. And this is questions about the swan. And you can answer. And this is, you can paint a swan too. With colors, it's mostly. I think that's what I wanted to say. Now, questions.
Thank you, Kerstin. Do you have any questions for her?
I think it was very interesting and very intuitive to see how you can manage or create an app for almost everybody, I suppose. But in what kind of circumstances do you use this app particularly, and who is the main target group for the app?
The community is the one we talk for. The school, the daycare center, the group home, the library, the leisure activities. So, and you can buy a license for the community or just for one work. But it isn't easy to start new things in school or in because you have to have someone admin doing these things, and so we work on that. The easiest thing is to have, we have computers having courses for people just with intellectual disability, and they manage and they like it, and it is the best thing we do, and their staff look at, many possibilities that opens when they use it. So we are working on this way, and we have some assistance companies. Is it the right word? Personal assistant we have in Sweden.
Mm-hmm.
Not the society, it's business, and they are in it and they start to work.
Are they private or?
Yes, private.
Yeah.
And we have some communities, and we have some schools, and we use it ourselves. I talked about documentation at the beginning, and we do a lot of filming at our lessons. As a member, you can look at it, and it's very easy to put it in DigiJag, and it's very easy to administrate it when you're in it, because I had to touch one button and everyone gets it in their own tools. There's nothing sending email, sending papers, just button. Was it answer on your questions?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe there are a lot of more questions. I suppose I would like to look more closer at this app, and you said that it was in English and Norwegian as well, and could it be in other languages or
absolutely?
Could it be created more locally? Then I think this program, it could be maybe compared to Teams or what?
We use Zoom because Zoom is more easy for our students. If you have Zoom, everyone's in it. But if you have Teams, it's just 12 or 16 or something. If you don't,
okay.
So that's a choice for us. And they did research on Swedish people with disability, the big organization, and they prefer Zoom and all the way. So that's
very interesting.
It's very interesting to work with that researcher Stefan Johansson, because he has very, very good tools to co-create together with our students different things. And he has Swedish television, the Swedish tax authority, or a lot of people coming to him help us to get, so people understand and can be able to work with our websites.
I have a question regarding the demo. Is it open for us?
The demo is open for everyone in the whole world, but it is in Swedish, so you have to have your. So it's digijag.se. I can write it in the chat.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Can I ask, how far can you come with the English version?
The English version is you can start to use it, but you have to make some materials that is English.
Yes.
Okay.
Do you have what you call it, guidance or something like that for this? And how do you?
We have workshops. We have guidance. We have films. There is a film in that information site as I show you. In how you do it, and it's to meet some of our students telling how they use it, and we have done a lot of pedagogical seminars, and we have a gala. What's that party? A digital party for DigiJag when we stopped this project, and there's a lot of films. And if you know Swedish, you can hear our researcher telling how to close the digital gap.
Thank you for this.
Very great.
Very, very interesting. And I'm sure a lot of us will try the demo, even though it's in Swedish, but it will probably give us some insight, and maybe we could use it here in Iceland in the future. All right. Nú veit ég ekki alveg hvort ég að færa mig yfir á íslensku aftur eða ekki, en í raun og veru erum við bara komin á okkar næsta þátttakanda, sem Jakko frá Finnlandi, sem ætlar að fjalla verkefni þeirra sem sagt tutor teachers, eða leiðsögnarkerfi fyrir kennara, þar sem kennara fengu þjálfun í stafrænni færni og kenndu svo samstarfsfólki sínu. So if Jakko, if you are ready to present, we could start now. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm ready, and I'll just share my screen. Okay, and can you see the presentation? The classic question.
Yes.
Yeah, all right. So, by the way, how much time do I have? Roughly 30 minutes?
Yes, Jakko.
You have 30 minutes.
30 minutes, all right. So yeah, nice to see you all. My name is Jaakko Vorja. I'm a project coordinator in Finnish National Agency for Education, and today I'm going to talk you something about what happened in Finland during COVID-19 when the whole education system went to distance learning methods. And of course, I'm going to tell you something about also tutor teacher model in Finland and about digital skills of our teachers in general. just a small information package who I am. So I'm working at Finnish National Agency for Education, and that's the building in the picture in Helsinki. So Finnish National Agency is very much like the Swedish Skolverket. So we are working under Ministry of Education. The ministry itself is more into legislation and policies, and we are more of a development agency. So we are responsible of producing Finnish curriculum. We are responsible of guidance, training, and many other things. But yeah, that's short information. If you want to know more about us, you will find information from our website, opetushallitus.fi. I'm working currently as a project coordinator in an Erasmus project that is called Access Learning. It's coordinated by the European School Network, and our project's kind of like main theme is digital formative assessment in basic education. And we have project partners from Estonia, Greece, Spain, Portugal, and well, of course, Belgium, because European school network is from Brussels. My background is in teaching. I've been working in Finnish primary schools for a few years. Also, actually, in Gothenburg for for a few months, because I did my exchange semester in Gothenburg, and I had the chance to do my practicum in the Gothenburg International School. I'm also a doctoral researcher in Tampere University. I'm doing an PhD from educational technology, and I've been coordinating distance learning in Finland during COVID-19 project, and I will tell you something about it as well. So as said, more precisely, I'm going to talk to you about distance learning in Finland, digital capabilities of schools, teachers, and digital skills. And then we come to the Finnish tutor-teacher model. And we have also done a small research study about how tutor teachers perceive distance teaching. And in the final slides, I'm going to kind of like summarize what we have learned and what would be the best practices from our understanding. So timeline, what happened in Finland, I think this is quite similar to other Nordic countries. So when the COVID-19 started in early March, schools were closed in Finland. Then there was quite many governmental level legislations and restrictions and so forth during the March month of 2020. Then in April 2020, we started to do a kind of like to gather data about COVID-19, but especially from educational point of view. So we wanted to know how it turns our education system around, how it will affect our practical capabilities to teach children and youth and adults. And that's a work that I started to do, to gather data, to review international reports from organizations and so forth. But this is just a kind of like context. So there was a lot of things happening during 2020 and in early 21, and this is kind of like the year where we gathered our data, and this is the year where I'm gonna focus in my presentation mostly. So as said, we gathered data started from April 2020, and we published this national 130-page report in March 2021. And after that, we started to work with UNESCO, and we did a case study with them about Finnish distance learning that was published in a month ago, roughly. During pandemic, the general kind of like conclusion is that the Finnish digital infrastructure and digital skills in basic and secondary education were in a fairly good level, but the notion was also that the spread was not equal. So not every teacher had kind of like capabilities and a good level of digital skills. I think what is really important every time we talk about digital skills and education is that Nordic countries in general are really digitalized societies. For instance, the European Union Digital Society Index usually has Finland, Denmark, Sweden, Iceland, and some Benelux countries in the top 10 countries. So that is something that is always, I think, really important to remember, that it's not just about skills, it's about our history and culture as well. That, for instance, in Finland and Sweden, we have this long tradition in with telecommunication. Finland is quite rural country, so that's why we built a lot of networks in the early 80s and 90s, and all of these things have something to do with what we are talking today. But let's not go too deep into history. That's a really important and interesting topic as well, but it will take my 20 minutes. A real challenge is still remaining at the level of teacher and students' digital skills, and the spread and quality of digital devices and services is not enough, although great many things have improved since. I think the main challenge in Finland is the unequal progression of digital skills, and the digital divide is kind of like the focal point of our government at the moment. So before COVID-19, what schools had, and this is when I'm talking about schools, I'm generally speaking of basic education and upper secondary education schools. Universities, of course, and higher education had quite a different kind of like context, because students are basically adults and they have their own devices. But usually Finnish schools, as I've also learned, are pretty much the same as in Sweden. Let's say that schools have either Microsoft or Google environment or both. They have some sort of student administration system. We have Wilma in Finland. Every school, every student, and every parent has their account where you can transfer credentials, data, assessment data, and just make really basic like communication, like text messages and so on. Elementary schools, 50% of the learning material was provided by publishers. So in basic education, it's really about the learning content material is provided, almost all of it is provided by publishers. Largest publishers are Sanoma and Otava. Teachers' ICT skills were in fairly good level as stated, but since then there has been quite a lot of evidence that COVID-19 and especially distance learning has excelled this development. Schools have a really good wireless networks and they work, and the kind of like trend is to loan devices more and more and share and move with the students and devices rather than having a sole one ICT classroom. So important stuff is that Finnish teachers had fairly good ICT skills, but this kind of like progression of innovative pedagogical practices and digital skills have started to stagnate somewhere around 2019 and 2020, and there wasn't that much stuff happening there. In the right there is a Finnish, in Finnish language, there is a graph where there's basically questions about I'm using ICT in education, and I'm using the ideas that students are giving me, and students can use their own devices in my classrooms and so forth. So as you can see, there was nothing major happening anymore. We kind of like progressed in the 2015 to 2018, but then there wasn't that much happening. So in 2015, what is remarkable is that, well, of course, no one knew about COVID-19 or anything about it, but the Finnish government introduced a tutor-teacher model, which somehow was linked to this, that the government officials saw that we need a scalable, networked, local and regional kind of like innovation platform or ecosystem to kind of like scale both technological and social innovations everywhere. So not just to capital area or around major cities, but in every municipality and every school. So that's how the government invented the teacher model and started to hand out quite a reasonable amount of funding. And the idea is that every school has at least one trained and specialized teacher who is supporting other teachers to use and adapt ICT in education resources and other social innovations. It's not just about devices or anything like it. It's also about content, learning content, pedagogies and practices. But it's also about how to use computers, how to use digital learning environments, and how to use them in a pedagogical and efficient way. So in 2018, there was already 2,289 tutor teachers. On average, one tutor teacher had 21 teachers for tutoring. And that means that one teacher in every school, they are being trained, but they are also being handed out weekly hours that they can spend to train their colleagues, their peer teachers. And that's something that turned out to be really valuable when we come to COVID-19 and to year 2020. So it's a kind of like stroke of luck that we had this network of teachers already working with other teachers. And when COVID-19 started and schools closed, and we had suddenly an urgent need to hand out information to say what sort of digital learning environments could be appropriate to use, how to do digital assessment and so forth. This network was really crucial in executing all of these kind of like central government guidances, but also to autonomously innovate and share ideas. That if some teacher has invented that YouTube is great to use in distance learning, soon quite many other teachers implemented same pedagogical innovations. And when tutor teachers get together in the regional meetings, they can actually share all of these grassroots level innovations together. And so that's how the network grows and kind of like sustain itself. And this was really remarkable. So we did a tutor teacher study about it. We gathered a data set from teachers, basically a qualitative data set, and we wanted to know how tutor teachers felt or perceived the distance teaching period during year 2020. And we learned quite a lot. So best practices stated by tutor teachers was that they felt that offering clear norms and guidance from whether it's school level leadership, municipal level, or central government we have to provide really strict, understandable norms and guidance. That's something that we also at the agency learned, that even though Finnish teachers and teachers in general are quite autonomous and they want to kind of like do their own thing, during COVID, they really wanted to have not many things, but one thing, one example, one simple solution how to do distance learning, distance teaching. Maintaining flexibility to attend teaching is something that was seen as a way to go. Offering quality digital learning services and material, make use of digital test environments and assessment. And this is something for me personally, because I'm working in an Erasmus project that is working with digital formative assessment. This is really interesting, that we need to have more and more assessment methods also in digital environments. And lastly, offer webinars and in-service training for teachers already during the exceptional circumstances. It's not just COVID, it can be many other things as well, natural disasters, war, or something like that. Further improvement, these are the things they wanted to kind of like have more or have solutions for them. These digital strategies, implementation and practical guides, designing teaching for contact and distance learning scenarios. So this is something that we are now wondering in Finnish administration and educational administration, that how can we have a legislation that supports both contact and distance learning scenarios, because even though distance learning was something that went well and we learned quite a lot, it's not a sustainable way to teach children and youth, but we have to take the best of it and somehow maintain some parts of it in our future schooling as well, probably, or maybe, we don't know yet. And diverse and tailored in-service training is something that is needed, and creation of pedagogical, technical and well-being support mechanisms. These were especially, I'm interested about the well-being support mechanisms. How can we produce this in a distance? How can we produce things that could support school personnel's well-being? It's not an easy task. So still some support what schools need. They need different softwares, learning content, knowledge and experience of assessment and interaction, and as stated, student welfare and support mechanisms, and clear rules, norms and guidance. We have also learned in agency that schools and education providers have stated during COVID that tutor-teacher model has been a really valuable resource for them. And I think it's really important to know that it's not something that happens in big cities or capital, as stated. It's really important to have this network that also supports teachers in rural areas. So this is from equality point, this is really important. And tutor-teacher model is not exceptional, actually. Estonia has something similar. They have something called educational technologist in every school that also supports teachers in using digital devices and resources. So Estonia has similar experiences with Finnish colleagues. Lastly, I'm gonna share you just a few notions about our best practices, and these best practices are from our case study report that we compiled with UNESCO during the last year. So e-readiness policies are something that should be focusing on equality and equity. This is something that we are now working on with. We have a government level project called New Literacies that is trying to bridge the digital divide gap. But of course, it's not an easy task, and it will take time. capital projects need to be launched that enable all teachers and learners. So this is something that if we are making a national level, like spearhead projects, we need to think how to scale them for every learner and for every teacher. Both teachers and students need to be given appropriate devices and access to internet. And this is not a really kind of like easy task as well, because schools in different places are in different are packed with different resources, let's say, and it depends on the municipality quite often, so it's not an easy task. Distance learning is something that provides us new ways of providing education, and we need to think how to make use of that. And digital fluency should be mainstream in the curriculum to bolster the ICT literacy to all teachers and students. And digital fluency, or I would maybe say digital literacy, is a really important topic that is also evolving. It's not just one thing. It's quite many things that we need to consider. It's about digital cultures, media literacy, traditional media education, but also digital game cultures, I would say, also is related to digital literacies. Best practices about teaching and learning is that teachers should be provided with guidance, practice sessions to help them implement distance learning in a blended setting. Government has introduced in Finland quite a lot of in-service training, and quite many higher education institutions have also started to provide courses for teachers to introduce them to blended learning scenarios. And I think that although teachers were managed to provide blended learning and distance learning during year 2020, we need to also provide teachers with certain learning theories that how people learn in distance learning environments, and that is something that is maybe being implemented in the basic teacher training also. Students in higher education should be provided with real-time teaching every day, as in every other country. In my knowledge, higher education students have been quite a lot of stressed out during COVID and during distance learning. And it's also something to do with mental health issues, but also well-being issues. And that is why real-time teaching is really important for higher education students as well. Online sessions should be recorded and made available, and learning management systems should streamline feedback and assessment by teachers. And this is, this is something that is not solely possible in every learning management system, and there's a lot of fuss about learning analytics and artificial intelligence, but nothing major is yet happening. But we are expecting to see maybe new ways to make use of learning management data and how to use it in a way that it would support learners' well-being and learning. Peer mentors such as tutor teachers who are digitally literate and capable and have the expertise should provide training sessions to teachers. And this is also important since teachers are, of course, they learn from courses and in-service training courses, but it is evident that if you receive mentoring or teaching from your colleague, you will actually learn better, and teachers are usually more open to their peer colleagues in kind of like listening what they have to say. Through their peer networks, teachers should identify and discuss their needs that become apparent during COVID. And this is also something that is related to tutor-teacher model. And lastly, about administration and communication. Not every teacher have a smartphone or even a phone, mobile phone, and it's not common in Finnish schools that every teacher would have a cell phone or smartphone. Usually, schools can have few phones in the teacher's room, and principal, of course, has a cell phone, but it's not a common thing that every teacher is available with the phone. And this is a challenge. This was a challenge and still is and still remains a challenge, because if we want to have administrative system that would be secure and appropriate, then we actually would need to have some VPN, and maybe teachers should also have their phones. And yeah, it's a challenge, but it's not an impossible thing. Single communication channels should be used for caregivers. Parents and caregivers were quite exhausted with all the information that was coming from everywhere, from social media, from administration channels, and from every digital learning environment. And this is something that needs to be worked out. Technical supports needs to be available on an individual basis. There wasn't enough maybe technological guidance for every teacher, but this was, I think, was in our report at least was stated that there was enough technical guidance. If there is a future crisis where some systems fail or there isn't every communication channel available, then schools could make use of local networks as well. So yeah, going to end up here, and you can find these national reports and information about tutor teachers from these reports that are available in internet. Just Google them, or if you have this presentation available for attendance, then you can also find the links from this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Jaakko. This was very interesting. What I found most interesting was that you started this in 2015, which made you quite prepared for the COVID-19 epidemic. I was just wondering, I have the feeling that when, especially in higher education, after COVID, they kind of just went back to the regular teaching form on site, and they do not use blended learning anymore. But you would recommend that we would continue to use what we have learned during the COVID-19, or would you say that we should just go back to the way it was?
No, I think higher education already before COVID-19 was quite different compared to, let's say, upper secondary or basic education. So already before COVID, there was quite a lot of blended learning, and blended learning was something that was endorsed by quite many universities, and quite many faculties were already making certain policies that a certain percentage of their courses should be made available by blended learning methods. So after COVID, I think now the situation is that because there isn't any restrictions, higher education institutions want to make sure that their students are well they want to see their faces, physical faces, and they want to see how many students are in need for support. So that is why I think at the moment higher education is kind of like wanting, and teachers, higher education teachers, want to see students. But I think quite soon blended learning will continue. And it's also that students actually want to have distance learning in their kind of like toolkit. Quite many, well, I have quite many colleagues in universities, and they have stated that they have been a bit even disappointed that if you have a teacher in higher education who loves to teach and who loves to be with people, and then you receive this email from students that say that, hey, we have the student party tomorrow, can we just watch your class from Microsoft Teams? And then the teacher has been quite disappointed because she actually wanted to see students and be with them, but students are a bit skeptical to just sit in a class. So I think what is happening is that teachers need to raise the level of their teaching, and to make sure that that if they require contact teaching, you have to have some sort of meaning for people to come together, and that meaning cannot be that you will just read PowerPoints. For instance, like I am at the moment reading PowerPoints. So there has to be some other meaning just to be together than just watch the screen and read and listen. You have to have something more.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you, Jaakko, and also thank you, Kerstin, for participating in this webinar. I think I forgot to mention in the beginning that this is recorded and will be broadcast on YouTube, if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
Of course. And I'm not sure if you would like to share the slides with the participants, but if you do, I will be happy to send them to the registered participants. So on this note, thank you all for joining us. Hope to see you soon.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, nice. See you again. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.